And I just went through that with Michael, which was only a year and 4 months ago. So the dot-com bust in 2000 on Wall Street, the subsequent collapse in 89, 9/11, and obviously here we are right now. So this is not news to me. It's not anything I'm afraid of. I do know that it means things are going to change, and it's your willingness and your understanding of the need for you to change that's really the biggest issue you've got. The majority of NER's membership, I think right now, are sitting back, and I think they're going to kind of wait for this thing to ride by. And if you talk to a lot of top agents and in Gary's group right now, it's not that anybody's happy we're here, but everybody knows it's easier to take market share in downturns than it is in upswings. When any idiot can sell a house, it's hard to get out there and take market share. It's when it gets tough. It's when things are different. It's when things are difficult. The professionals step up. They adapt to the situation. They make the situation work, both for the buyer and the seller and the agents and the vendors involved. They make it work, they make it happen, and they get deals done. And in that environment, most agents retreat. Most of NER's membership retreat. This may be a relatively short-lived phenomenon, the coronavirus, but the economic impact is not going to be short-lived. We're talking years at this point, I think. I'm sure you all saw the numbers this morning, the unemployment report. If you weren't paying attention, we just hit an unemployment report that is 10 times higher than any weekly unemployment report in the history of the United States. So we have massive unemployment on a scale that nobody's seen this fast. Nobody, never been done. The highest weekly report in the collapse in 08 and 09 was 600,000. And this is 6 million. This is just a phenomenal thing. This is going to take a long recovery, and it'll be measured in years, not months. Having said that, I'm not too worried about surviving it. I'm worried about my people and I adapting to it. So we're having a Zoom call, and if you are going to survive this, this is a big piece of what it's going to take to survive, is adapting to a much more streamlined, powerful digital platform for helping people buy or sell real estate. And you'll need that immediately for the virus, but you'll need it past that, because something is going to happen in the entire industry right now due to the virus all over the country. And I've been talking to people all over the country every week for the last 5 weeks. I mean, all over the country. I've been doing a lot of these calls all over the country. I had 700 on a call yesterday from the mountain states out west. I've been talking to a lot of people. And the reality is, you've got to look at, I think it's page 38 in the fifth book. If you haven't read this, I hope to God you're reading it. You need to read it now. I think it's page 38. Yeah, page 38. The 6 core competencies of your business. When you look at those 6 core competencies of your business, you need to have a digital solution for each one of those. And by solution, I mean working tools for each one of those core competencies, and that's how you're going to do your business. And what's happening now is, in a large part of the country, and this is us here right now, we're doing a majority of our buyer consultations and our seller consultations through this platform. We are doing contract execution and closing virtual. We are having very, very few showings. Our showings are typically after they've written a contract that's been fully executed, and the contract is subject to a 48-hour walkthrough by the buyer to accept the property. So we are adapting to this world. Nobody saw this coming 2 months ago, 3 months ago, but this is the world we're in. So I think a big piece of it is understanding if all over the nation people are much more online and they're communicating with Zoom or Google Hangout or whatever, this reality of selling real estate online, a large number of agents and a large number of consumers, when things are, quote, back to normal, if this is where we were in January and this is where we are right now for the next 2 months, arguably, you're going to be more and more forced to live in the digital world. When it's all over, we're not going back to that. We're going to go back to this. You're going to have a lot of agents and a lot of consumers that are actually going to find doing real estate in a digital platform, it's time efficient, it's effective, it's highly engaging. They actually like it, this format, and they're going to want to stay in this format going forward. So agents who don't adapt to this new format, even though you must adapt to it temporarily, but those who don't really look at it and go, I need to get really good at this. This is going to continue. If you don't do that, then when we come out of it, Bridget, I heard clearly what y'all said, and I think you're right in your thinking. When we come out of it, the people that aren't still utilizing the digital platform are going to find it less likely to do as much business as they thought. Because people right now are all sitting at home and they're all online doing this, and they're doing this for work, and then doing this with family, and they're doing this buying and selling real estate. And a lot of those people are going to be shocked if you don't utilize these platforms going forward. So having said that, I got a list of bullet points from Ryan about what y'all wanted to talk about, but I did want to talk about up front about the reality of where we are. And if you look at, again, on page 38, the 6 core competencies, number 1 is lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. If you're not lead generating right now through Zoom or some other tool, and you're not capturing contacts and generating appointments, you're not paying attention. Your business is going to die if you don't continue to lead generate during the downturn. If all you're doing is following up with A's and B's that you cultivated 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, and they told you they wanted to sell or buy a home in the spring, and now in your pipeline, March was their month, April is their month, and now you're working them, but you're not lead generating for new business. When these deals end, you're going to be out of business. You've got to understand, you got to keep lead generating. So from a pragmatic point of view, you need to be doing this with all of your A's and B's every morning. In my world, our people, first thing in the day, every day, 8 a.m., you're on the phone with A's and B's, people that want to do a deal right now or next month. So right now we're wrapping up all of March, and we're talking to all the people who, in theory, wanted to do a deal in April. And the bad news is some of the people who wanted to do a deal in April may have lost a job, and now they don't want to do a deal in April, or the news, the daily news of the increased number of active cases, the increased numbers of death, the increased restrictions on business, the increased tension about the economy. Some people are just going to go, not now, not now. I'm not going to do it. There's too much freaky stuff going on. You got to find out who that is as soon as possible. And when you do, you got to ask them, if not now, when? And this is back to your point, Bridget. There are people who are going to pause now, but they will become fall buyers or winter buyers, because people who want to buy or sell usually are doing it for a life event, births, deaths, divorces, job loss, job creation. And the people who want or need to buy a house now, if they have to put it off, that's all they're going to do, is they're going to put it off. They're going to do it, just not now. So your question is when? So you need to work your A's and B's every morning. And the ones who say, well, it's kind of scary, I'm just not sure what to do, you need to have collateral material that you send out, tons of it, stuff like that. Open house precautions. We're committed to keeping you healthy for buyers and sellers. Ugh, I'm dropping stuff right and left here. how to move, how to literally move. You bought and sold a house and now you got to move, how to move in the world of COVID-19, how to be safe. You got to send them all kinds of stuff. You got to send them about doing a digital transaction, start to finish. You will buy a home without even seeing the home. We're doing that with people. We discussed that for the people that are really nervous. So whatever your level of risk is, and understand we have people right now that are very afraid. They're not leaving their home, and they will wash anything that they get delivered. And then we have other people, and a week ago in Florida, we had spring break. And we had thousands of college students out on the beaches all doing this and this, and they were hugging and they were dancing, and oh my God, they were literally killing people. They were literally killing people. And now Florida is the hottest temperature state, meaning there's a new guide that looks at just raises in personal temperature, and we have the highest rate of increase of people having fevers in the nation, which means in 2 to 4 weeks, we're going to be in real serious trouble. So that shouldn't have happened. So my point is, all of you, number one, you all need to be safe. You need to be safe. You need to read the CDC guides. You need to understand clearly how the virus is moving and what you need to do to be safe. And you need to preach safe. So when you understand how to be safe, you need to preach safe to your buyers, to your sellers. If you have a team, to your team members. If you have vendors, make sure your vendors understand being safe, because a vendor can get you sick and a vendor could get your customer sick because the vendor doesn't understand being safe. Yes or no? Yes, this is true. Just nod your head. This is true. So preach safe. And then when you can do that, the people that do want to go forward, you can mitigate the risk and you can take them to a transaction, and it'll be safer than them going to the grocery store. And even in Manhattan, New York, I was on the phone with 100 agents in Manhattan at the beginning of the week because they are in the worst of it right now. And they are still able to sell and list property. And they can't go anywhere. There are no showings. There are no settlement meetings. There's nothing. It's either virtual or you don't do anything. And these people are still going to the grocery store, and they're still going to the drugstore, and they're still able to go to the gas station. So if that's true, and that's true everywhere in the country right now, no matter how tightly locked down you are, you're still able to do those activities. If it's you take one buyer or a couple to a home and show them a property, there's less risk in that for the seller and the buyer than when the seller and the buyer go to the grocery store. There's more risk when they go to the grocery store than there is for them doing that one activity. Now, that's not to say it's riskless, but you can go to the store, and you notice all the stores now focus on mitigating risk. So if the stores, like the stores where I'm at, they're all washing down the carts in front of you. They all have sanitizers. We have 2 stores now that have gloves. So when you walk in, you put on gloves and you do your shopping with gloves on. And the point is simply mitigating risk. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think you all get this. But the virus is very seriously killing people right now. I know too many people in Keller Williams right now that have the virus. And I'm not excited to say this or think about it, but it's only a matter of time before we have Keller Williams agents dying from the virus. I don't know of any yet. I just know it's going to happen because we're too big. So be careful. Now, one of the topics you had, Ryan, shifting gears, was about budget. You're probably going to have a really good March, most of you, and you're probably thinking you're going to have a pretty good April. But looking at the indicators all around the country, and I heard some of you say this, listing appointments are going down, buyer consults are going down, and in that environment, your next 3 months of income is going down. And you got to understand that, and you've got to deal with that. So being prepared is a big issue, and being prepared is always starting with money. So if you're having a really solid March, maybe a great March for you, because a lot of agents around the country were having a big first quarter. You need to take all these closings you're piling in the last week, and you need to build a cash reserve. If you don't have 6 months of your personal overhead in a bank account, 6 months, if it costs you $5,000 to live on every month, you need 30 grand in the bank account just sitting there. And if you haven't done that, you need to cut off your spending like today. And this may seem to some people too doomsday oriented, too pessimistic, but I'm listening to Gary and I'm looking at the news and I'm watching what's going on. And I have never seen so many unemployed people ever. And that bothers me a great deal, because that means there's a lot of businesses that aren't going to make money because people aren't earning money. And that's going to be a problem for people to get a mortgage to buy a house if they don't have a job. So this is a serious issue. Cut down your personal expenses and your business expenses. But first, if you're an agent, a single agent, the very first thing you need to do, and teams need to do this too, because often they're not doing it, is you need to separate your pay from your profit. You get a commission check comes in to the company. It's got the company's name on it. They take out whatever they take out, which is cost of sales, and then you get a check. And you better take that check and understand how to pay yourself. Your pay is not your profit. You have a business, it should make a profit, but your pay is not your profit. So you do all of the buying and selling if you're a single agent. So 30% of the GCI is your paycheck for licensed activity. So if it was a $10,000 check, and I'm talking about the gross check before the broker gets anything, then you've got 30% of that, or $3,000, that is your pay for licensed activity. And it doesn't matter what it was. I don't care what the deal is. If it was a buyer and a seller and you're a single agent and you did it, you get 30 cents on the dollar that comes in. Then you have operating expense. And your operating expense is also 30%. And in MREA 1, 12% of that was admin. MREA 2, there's a much broader range, all the way up to 18%. But the recommendation in today's world is that admin costs are 15% of GCI. So you did all the license work, that was 30%. You did all the admin work, that's 15%. So your paycheck for work is 45%. And that's what you need to pay yourself. Now you have another hard cost of 15%, because the operating expense category is 30%, half of it's admin. But now you have 15% more that is your quote hard cost. That's money you're going to spend as a single agent to be in business. And that totals 60%, and that leaves 40% profit, gross profit before tax. But you need to calculate tax. And the tax on that is going to be approximately 25% of GCI. So you pull 25% of GCI out of the 40% profit, and then you've got what's left over should be money that you put into that account where you build up 6 months of reserves and live on, I'm rounding off here, live on 50% of your gross commission income. Live on it, 50%. Pay your taxes, that's 30% of the total. That's 80%. And what's left is hard costs. And I hope you all follow that. It's very simple. Now, if you have a team, you need to do the same calculation. Do not mistake what I'm saying. It's all your money if you're a team or a single agent, the profit and the pay, but keep it separate and try to live on the pay and then take the profit to getting out of debt or invest in growing wealthy or invest in growing your business. That's what profit should be for the business. So I would do that. Then when you look at cutting your expenses, if you're a single agent, you only have one seriously big expense category, and that's lead generation. And you should cut that down in half. The lead gen standard in MREA 1 was 10%. MREA 2 research says it's as high as 12 or 14%, as low as 7, but the recommendation is about 8 or 9%. I'd tell you, if you're at 10, get it to 5. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You need to get it to 5 as fast as you can. And if you have not adapted your lead gen plan to Command, I don't know what you're waiting for. Command is going to allow you to cut your lead gen costs down to near zero. A $10 ad buy with social media marketing on new listings or on products or services like a free mortgage, like cut 30% off your insurance, homeowners insurance. I mean, there's so many little ad buys you can make on social media that would generate leads. We just took a listing and we put a coming soon sign up on it. We put a rider that said, see the video, text this number. And people are sitting at home now looking at real estate by watching videos. They like the 30 pictures, but they really want to see videos. So we got 9 registered buyers, 3 of which have already converted to clients. And the house is going to, I think, be sold. It's going live this week, and I think it's going to be sold. I doubt it'll be one of them, but we have now had over 350 views of the video tour of the property. It'll be one of them. One of those people are going to buy the house, probably with another realtor, and I'm fine with that. That's service to my seller. So the point I'm getting at is if you did a $10, if you're a single agent and you did a $10 ad commit through social media spot marketing with Command, that's a budget for the year of $500. And that's it. All the rest of your marketing should be digital marketing campaigns, and it's all digital. You don't need to be spending a lot of money. Just cut it all out. In terms of your personal, I don't see any, but if I spot any $5.85 coffee cups sitting on any of your desks, you need to cut that junk out like yesterday. There you go. Oh, you've been drinking out of a mug. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, there's this thing you probably got in some back shelf in your home called a percolator, and you can learn how to make coffee again. But I know people, I have agents in my offices across North Florida. I know them all. Bless their hearts, they'll buy 4 or 5 Starbucks a day. And at $5 a whack, that's 20, that's 100 a week, that's $5,000 a year. Come on, man. You don't need to spend that kind of money when you don't know your money 3 months from today. And you literally don't know your money 3 months from today. If you're paying attention to the science, it is possible we could have 200,000, 300,000 dead people in the next 7 to 8 months. And if you think that won't change things, you're not thinking. So get prepared. Cut out unnecessary spending. Stop dining out. Now, this has been forced on a lot of us, but a lot of you are still ordering out instead of fixing food at home. Just cut down on unnecessary expenses. I can't say it any more simply than that. You all have to figure out where that line in the sand is, but you need to do it. Are there any other big issues, Ryan, you had in mind about expenses?
No, sir. I think you covered that very well. Thank you.
Sure. And I'm not picking on Starbucks. If you have a favorite coffee spot, the point is $5 coffee. Just stop. Okay, so what was your other topic about? I don't have it in front of me.
That's okay.
You had 3 things. Help me out, Ryan.
The third one was your experiences of the activities that it took during your last shift or what you guys are doing now. I think you covered that pretty well too in talking about the platform of digitally enhanced communication with Zoom. Anything else you would add to that as far as specific activities?
Yeah, I think it's really very much about your time block. I mean, the way you're going to survive, and not just survive, but build a big future right now is doing activities that will pay off 3, 6, a year, 2 years from today. And that literally is something you should be focused on right now. So for us, I already mentioned this, at 8 a.m. to 9 or 9:30, depending on the size of the pipeline our agents have, they're going to be talking to A's and B's, and then they're going to shift and they're going to spend an hour and a half talking to their general Met database. These are people that weren't necessarily going to buy or sell in the spring. They've not indicated that. We hadn't put them in a pipeline. But we're talking to those people. And we're talking to those people about, by the way, the call when you call an A or a B is about the transaction. So it's, good morning, Ryan. How you doing, buddy? Yep, I've got you down that this was the month. You told me last fall and Thanksgiving when I made my holiday call, you said you were going to put your home on the market and be moving in the spring, and you thought it would be around March or April. It's April, buddy. What's going on? Are you still thinking about doing that? Because I know some people are worried. Some people are afraid. They don't know if this is actually a good time to do it or not. And I've got the answers. So talk to me. What's on your mind? You want to do it? Are you worried about the virus? You worried about the market? Talk to me, buddy. What's up? And then you need to have that conversation. But remember, that's someone who's already raised their hands and said, I wanted to do something. Now I'm making a general Met call, and it's a very different conversation. It's, hey, Ryan, buddy, Gene Rivers. Ryan, tell me what's going on, my friend. How are you doing? Has anyone in your family lost a job? Has anyone gotten sick from the virus? Do you have elderly folks in your family who might need some food deliveries? I can help you in many ways, Ryan. Tell me what's going on and let me help you or your family. What's going on, Ryan? And this, remember, these are people you know, past clients and friends and neighbors, but you need to just talk to the heart with these people. What's going on? The more you care about people, the more people will care about you. Do you believe that to be true? Just nod your head. Yeah, thank you very much. So you need to show people that you care right now, because a lot of people are concerned. They are upset. They are confused. Somebody that lost their job and they're a dual income family, they may not be able to afford the mortgage. And they're really living in a moment of fear and panic right now. This little check they're going to get and an extra $600 a week, which will run out in 4 months, that is not their solution. They need a job or they need to get rid of the mortgage. And I lived through the collapse in 06, 07, 08, 09. And those of you that did that, I'm sure you'll attest to this. We had a lot of people, and I'm in Florida. This is one of the worst hit states. We had a lot of people who were in denial until they were in such deep financial trouble, they could barely get out. They could barely get out. And we were able to short sale their house. And some of them, we couldn't even do that. And they ended up in foreclosure. So if somebody has lost a job and they're a dual income family and they need that money to pay the mortgage, it's not too soon for you to start talking about what are your plans. If you're telling me you're worried about being able to pay your bills and the mortgage is the biggest bill you have, what are you telling me? Do you want me to have a conversation with you about selling? Because you need to make up your mind about this. If the economy gets worse, the market for getting a job back could be worse. And if the economy gets worse, the market for selling your home and getting the most money you can get, that could get worse. And you need to make some strategic decisions as a family about this. You don't have to do it today, but you probably need to do it in the next 1 to 2 months based on what happens in our country. And I'm prepared to help you, but I'm going to encourage you not to do what I saw so many people do in the collapse in 08, which was they failed to take action fast enough, and it hurt them dearly. So you don't have to do anything, but if you're ready to talk about what could be done, I'm ready to have that conversation with you. And that would not be on that call. That would be at a later time you would set to have a 30-minute conversation, a consultation with both parties at the table, meaning on a Zoom call. So it's an hour and a half with your A's and B's and an hour to an hour and a half with your general Mets. And you're going to be literally building a pipeline of people who are not going to now do it now, or they are going to do it now. So they'll become an A or a B because they should have a sense of urgency about doing it now. If you're thinking about selling at all, don't wait, do it now. This is not being pessimistic, but things could get worse before they get better. And selling right now is still very successful. We can get your home on the market and get it sold. Don't wait till later. The odds are not good for you that it'll be better later. So the people that are going to wait, put them in a pipeline and then offer help to people. Now, outside of that, that's 3 hours, that's 8 to 11. From 11 to 12, you need to work on command. All of this data, all these conversations you had for 3 hours created a lot of data. All the data, if you're not entering it while you're talking to them, if you're not doing that and you're a note taker, then all this data needs to go into their file in command, and you need to set them up on a drip. The drip I think you need to be doing right now with all of your Mets and past clients is a weekly real estate report in terms of COVID-19. Real estate in the world of the coronavirus. Here's what's going on in the last 7 days. And you need to be telling people what is going on every 7 days, because from what's happened to me and our businesses across North Florida, every week things keep changing. Yesterday morning, the governor of the state of Florida shut down the whole state. That changed things. And people that are out there thinking about real estate need to hear from you, not the paper, exactly what it means to them buying and selling real estate. Because the paper is not going to make it clear what the impact is. And what is the immediate impact? They need to see in your weekly report, we have these now collateral material pieces. We have these pieces of information about how you sell real estate in this kind of an environment. And we're set up and prepared, and we have the systems to do it, including 100% digital. You will not go into any property, and you will not have to deal with anybody in your home if you're a seller. So you need to have all of that going out every 7 days, a report. You need to be making offerings, these flyers, these brochures. So when you send out that mailer, click here to get your free how to sell homes in a world of the virus, and how to do a digital transaction, what a digital consultation looks like. All of this stuff, you need to be making offerings. And when they've clicked, they've raised their hand and they're saying, I know it's scary, but I'm actually thinking about, we need to do it. So that gives you lead gen to follow up on every single week. Then have lunch. And I'd recommend lunch is you get outside, make yourself a sandwich, go outside, get some fresh air, de-stress yourself. Because I remember vividly, because it was a long period of time in Florida, and the collapse when we would have these calls with people who saw their home values going down and somebody lost their job and the stock market was declining. People, a lot of them would start crying right away, and they would talk about fear, and they would talk about anger, and they were really glad to have somebody to talk to without realizing that they were glad to have somebody to talk to. So if you do this constantly, you're going to run into people that are going to unload some stress on you. And at lunch, you need to go take a break and walk outside and detox from the stress. And I mean it. And realize that you're helping people. If people are unloading on you, you're helping those people. But don't be the person that just internalizes everything. When you come back at 1 o'clock, you need to be working on your business, not in it. So all morning long, when your energy is highest, you're working on your business. And then after lunch, you start to work, you're working in your business. And after lunch, you start to work on it. Where are things going? What do I need to be thinking about? For a lot of you right now, I truly believe it needs to be video. You need to be thinking very hard about video. You ought to be shooting video constantly. To every listing you have, you should have a really good video tour of every listing. Your community areas, you need to have videos of those areas. You need to do bites, 2-minute, 2.5-minute segments of video about the real estate transaction, both the natural, the normal real estate transaction and the real estate transaction in today's environment. This is a lot of work, but creating videos right now and getting them up on YouTube and Instagram and indexing them back to your mailers, to your clients in your sphere, and to your, in other words, every video creates a mailer you send out. Look at my newest video on how to price your home in a downturning economy. This stuff you need to get out there, and this library of information. You do understand that this time period, everybody's at home, internet usage is massive right now. In fact, I don't know if you caught this, but at the beginning of last week, YouTube announced they are no longer doing any high definition digital streaming. There's too much streaming going on. They're now only streaming standard definition, and that's how many people are watching video today. It's flooded. It's flooded. And there are people, you all know this, there are people that are searching about real estate on YouTube, not on Google. It's the second largest search engine, YouTube, and they're searching because they want to see video about real estate in the world of COVID-19. They really want to understand what's going on. And if you don't have video up, you're out of the game. You're out of the game. You're going to lose business. Just like in the collapse, the big one that happened in '08, the people, the agents that had information out there about short sales, foreclosures, and bankruptcy, what you need to understand, those people took market share from agents who weren't talking about it and who had no collateral information on it. So after lunch, you work on the business, and then the rest of the afternoon from 2 to 5 o'clock is appointments. It's appointments, and these are appointments like this. It's a Zoom appointment. You need to be getting face-to-face and presenting. And when I mentioned page 38 in the shift book, each one of those components, you need to understand how to have a seller consult or buyer consult doing this, showing graphs, showing charts, making it fluid, even laying in a video, making a very powerful and compelling digital presentation through a tool like Zoom or Google Hangouts. You need to get good at this, and you need to get good at the marketing of your properties using digital platforms. And we're back talking about command again. So, all right, I'm going to shut up because I could talk a lot about this. Questions? What's on your mind?
Hey, Gene, I have a question. Can you share those flyers? Where did you get those?
Well,
Did you guys make them?
I'm going to guess. I mean, I'm blessed to have powerful admin. I'm going to guess we probably appropriated a few of these. But yeah, I'll send them out to Ryan, and then y'all can have them. And by the way, with command, all you got to do is upload them on command. It doesn't matter if they're a PDF. It'll modify them, and you put your own brand on it, and away you go. You don't need to worry about this. Just take them. The theft rate of collateral material is very high with command now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll send them to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Gene.
Yeah.
Gene, I got a question for you. You said something about talking about trying to help them sell or buy their house. If we can help them keep their house instead of losing it, would you recommend telling them to refinance if they have a job? Because my business, for example, I'm a heating and air guy, so I'm still an essential employee in the state of Tennessee. Would you see if help out your family and friends get a hold of the lenders, around the area and try to refinance instead of them just losing their house altogether?
Absolutely. Our job in Keller Williams is not to be salespeople. Our job is consultant. And as a consultant, you need to tell people whether they like what you say or not. You need to tell people what you think the best advice is. Now, if a simple refi, the problem is anybody bought a home in the last 4, 5, 6 years got a great rate. So a lot of people, the refi they get today is not going to knock the rate to the level that if it's a 2-income family and one lost their job, it's not going to make up that lost job money. It'll make them $300, $400, $500 a month, but that is not going to be $3,000 a month. So, and by the way, that's an individual decision, right? People have to make up their own financial mind about what's prudent and what's not. All I know is, Isaac, is that for most people, the single biggest bill they write every month is the mortgage payment. And if that becomes onerous, if they're a dual income family and they lost a significant income, they might need to consider that. And there's nothing wrong at all with somebody getting out of a mortgage and renting something and saving some money until they can get a job back. That's just smart.
Okay, I was just wondering because I know I was talking with my sister and her husband. They both have their jobs right now, but I think they told me their interest rate was 4 or 5%, And I suggested they talked about maybe upgrading a house during this time because the interest rate was so low, because they could literally get more of a house for the same amount what their interest rate is now. I've talked with them some.
Well, right now, I think the best tool you've got in your tool arsenal is Keller Mortgage, because they can go online and find out at no cost, no obligation. They can find out exactly what it'll cost them. And you all know there's no points, there's no fees. And if it's over, what is it, 250,000, they'll get $1,000 cash back at closing or more. By the way, you all should be promoting your app right now very heavily. You need to tell people that they can do a refi analysis on their mortgage, no cost, no obligation on the app. They can go and compare their homeowner's insurance policy to the world of homeowner insurance policies and get an offer that might save them $300 a month. So if they could save $100 or $150 on a mortgage at no cost, just streamlining their mortgage down, and then save another $300 or $400 a month on their homeowners insurance, you're starting to talk about some serious benefit at no cost to them just by using the app. And if you're not talking about that, you're missing the point about people are in trouble, people are afraid, and we have other ways to help them just besides buying or selling a house. You need to talk about it. So that's a good comment, Isaac. What else?
I have a question.
Well, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so on the flip side of that, where we're trying to convince, sellers that maybe their best option because of loss of job or whatnot to sell their home, if their idea is to purchase another home, maybe a smaller home to have a less mortgage or whatever, how do we deal with the buyer side of this where the lending is ever changing? I mean, by the hour it's changing, and they've raised credit scores across the board no matter what type of loan. I mean, what are we doing, or how do we help those buyers that maybe would have qualified 3 months ago that now can't, just simply because of now they're behind in payments, they don't qualify because their credit score, I mean, what do we do to help our buyers more at this point?
Well, I think you don't try to, talk people into doing anything, but I think what you do is share with people what their options are. And if asked, or if you know them well enough, say, can I take a liberty and share with you what I think might be a better choice for you guys? So ask permission to tell them your opinion of what they should do. Don't just tell them, y'all need to do this, right? You ask permission. People right now, a lot of people, this is why this is important, Jenny. Right now, a lot of people feel like they're losing control of their life. If they've lost a job and they don't know if they can pay their mortgage, their life that they thought that they had in January, the life that they had that was really great and in control, and now they're losing control. So one way you help them feel better is don't tell them what to do. That also feels like they're losing control. Say, could I have permission to give you my opinion on something you might do that would work for you guys? And that gives them back control, right? They can say yes or they can say no. So sometimes little things mentally help people make decisions without getting stressed out. So I already mentioned this, in the downturn, my experience for literally about 5 years was people did not make good decisions fast enough. In other words, when they finally got to the right decision, there was too much water under the bridge. Their credit scores were ruined because they'd missed too many payments, etc. That kind of thing. So these morning phone calls to your general sphere, not your A's and B's, that's the whole point of these. If somebody's in trouble, tell them basically, wake up right now. This could get worse, not better. Wake up right now. You all have heard this. You want all of your people to hear you loud and clear. Guys, I am hoping for the best, but I also believe you need to prepare for the worst. Because I can't tell you what's going to happen, and nobody can tell you what's going to happen. But I do know every day things are getting darker in terms of the virus impact on the economy. That has happened every day now for 9 weeks. And I would prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So I think that's all you can do. People that are rational will face reality. And when people face reality, they're willing to hear a solution that maybe isn't what they want to hear, but it's a solution. And I think a lot of people are going to be, it's going to be the downturn if the job unemployment rate continues to grow, and it's expected it will grow. I do think a lot of people are going to need to sell their house and rent. Unless they can downsize. Like you said, if the credit's okay, they can downsize. They have equity and they've got credit. The good news is one of the biggest problems we had in the collapse was the amount of equity people had pulled out of their houses between 2002 and 2006. People had this huge rise in appreciation, and they were pulling money out right and left. And the amount of equity today that exists in residential real estate in America is almost 10 times what it was in the collapse. A lot of people have not pulled out equity on their houses. So a lot of people, you know, are sitting on decent equity. I don't know your market, but that would be a national bet I would make.
So I think maybe my question should have been more like my team is kind of half and half. So I do listings almost as much as I do buyers. And I think the issue that I'm seeing now is that, like, I have a buyer under contract to close in 2 weeks, and he was lower credit, but my lender helped him. And he literally was just now kind of not qualified all of a sudden after we're halfway through the loan process, because, you know, the lenders are limited on what investors will take them. And so what do we do with the people that have to buy for whatever reason right now that maybe would have qualified a month ago that don't? I mean, do we have any sort of resources to help those people that are struggling? You know, I mean, because they're looking to us for guidance, obviously, but there's only so much we can do with certain circumstances like that.
Well, that's right. That's absolutely right. You know, there are some new wrinkles today about lending, but nothing significant. It's generally to the negative in terms of people being able to buy. And, you know, around the country, jumbo loans, much harder to get. Construction perm loans, much harder to get. And this all happened in the last, 5 days. Credit scores up, floors up, mid sixes, right? Just much harder, much harder. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. People should not feel negative if they need to rent instead of buy. They shouldn't feel negative about that. One of the worst things you could do is get people into a situation and shove them into a purchase, and then 5 months later, they can't afford the mortgage payment. That is not a good thing for us to do to anybody, right? Don't push it. The important issue is that people have housing that suits their wants and needs, and whether they own it or they rent it is a secondary issue, right? I've seen a lot of agents push people into really fancy houses, and they be eating pork and beans every night, but they got a really fancy house. Right? That's not the way to treat people, right? They need to have a great house and not be stressed about that monthly payment. Remember, the monthly payment should be no more in the old rules than 30 to 32% of household income. And right now, affordability, which is changing as we speak, but affordability is still in the 20% range. So depending on your local market, most people can afford a right-sized house, assuming they have the credit score. That's a different issue.
Right.
But you can't turn a sow's ear into a silk purse, darling. If they can't get the loan, they can't get the loan.
We can share what we've been doing. We've had some lenders that they have changed. We're just transferring them to other lenders.
So there are lenders that are keeping everything the same and it's business as usual. They're not running away. They're moving forward.
I would change them to another lender. You can contact us.
Give us a shout. We'll help you with it. No problem.
Yeah, shop it. But just realize they're probably getting a non-conforming loan as opposed to a conforming loan. And so they'll pay a little extra in points, maybe a little extra in interest rate. Nothing wrong with that as long as it's still affordable, right? Yep. What else? Oh, we're sheltering at home there, Jenny. I can see that. She wants to talk to the teacher.
Gene, what's your recommendation if you have investment property right now? Would you recommend tapping into some of that equity and building cash reserves, or how do you
realize you have cash reserves? If that equity's there, that equity is there. You got it. Don't panic over that. Realize in the downturn, the worst since the Great Recession, what happened to the value of investment properties? It went down. the value. But what happened to the rents of investment properties? They went up. They went
Right.
up, right? So you actually will make more cash on your rental properties. Should the economy go downward for a while, you'll end up making more money on rents, because when this is the conversation we're having right now, when fewer people buy, then more people rent. When more people rent, what does supply and demand say on rent prices if more people are renting? They go up. And we have a shortage of inventory of real estate all across the country. And I'm going to guess you do there too. So I wouldn't be worried about that. I wouldn't be worried about 6 months of personal reserves in the bank, right? So if that's what you're talking about, just look at your equity position. So if you have a lot of investment properties where you've got 30, 40 or more % of equity, I don't see any reversal of value any lower than that. So in other words, you're going to keep having equity.
My main concern is more with if people do their job, don't pay rent, should we pull some out to maintain a good cash position for investment properties? Not necessarily a personal, not using it for personal income, but just making sure we're in a good position if we're not able to collect as much rent as we have in the past.
Absolutely, but that should be built into your pro forma for your investment strategy. You know, if you follow the stack in real estate investments, you know, you do an analytic on everything, and in that analytic, right off the top, you should have a V&C collection, vacancies and bad checks, right? And you should be allocating at least 5% of every rent check towards the V&C account. That account should be built up and it should be sitting there, and that's specifically what it's for. So when that account gets depleted, then you have to worry about replenishing that account. But you should have a V&C account that's built up over a period of time to be adequate enough to put on roofs on property or to pay for, you know, extended vacancies. You know, you make these decisions when you acquire property, and the property. My wife and I have a large portfolio of real estate, and the residential rental units that we have, there's one key characteristic they all have. They're in the #1 school zones, and they're all single family houses or townhomes, and they stay rented even in the worst of times. They just stay rented. I don't have any problem. During that downturn, we had 0 problems with rent. I mean, we had the odd person who was late on rent, but they'd make it up. We literally didn't evict anybody for not paying rent. I've done it twice, but it was when I had properties that were not in the #1 school zone. #1 school zone, I don't have that problem. So you make those decisions when you buy your property, right?
Right.
So, yeah. What else? We got 5 minutes and I'm out of here.
That's
So
it.
God bless you. But anything else? Nothing
Gene,
else?
I guess the final. Go ahead, Leah.
Hi, I'm just wondering how you would recommend. I have a couple buyers who do not want to go digital. Sorry, my dog. How do you recommend handling that?
They don't want to what?
They do not want to move digital. They want to continue to go and view the properties in person and all that. How do you recommend handling that safely?
Well, this starts with you being safe. So what is your personal view? All the agents in my office, they understand that this is their own personal decision. You know, what level of risk are you willing to take? And there is a level of risk. Do you have people who've been identified as having the virus in your county? Yes or no? Well, through community distribution, you have no idea where it's coming from. Then you can get it. We have 32 people in my community. We have very low levels for the state of Florida. We have 32 people in my county who have it, and we know every one. 16 community. They can't find any link between those people and where they've been to anybody who's identified having the disease. So you don't know where it comes from. So you have a level of risk. So you make up your own mind first. So you might say, Mary and John, here's the deal. I have little kids and I have to think about my children and I have to think about my parents. So I'm willing to keep working with you, but we do need to minimize the amount of risk. And frankly, this is you as well as me. I'm willing to do a final look at the 2 properties that you've decided you're going to buy one of those 2, but I really don't want to be showing you 10 or 15 properties. I think that's too much risk to be showing you a lot of properties that frankly don't meet your wants and needs analysis. So what I'd like to do is go through an in-depth, detailed wants and needs analysis. I want to get clarity on the money that you have available to both borrow and put into a purchase. And then let's put that together against the local market and come up with the 6 or 8 properties that most fit exactly what you're looking for. And then let's try to narrow that down by driving up and down the streets and looking at the properties from the outside. Let's try to narrow that down to the top 2. And I'm going to get videos on all those properties online for you. And if they don't have them, I'm going to ask the agent to shoot a video and send you the video. And let's try to narrow it down to 1 or 2 properties of which you're going to go look at one and write an offer. And that's literally what we were doing 3 weeks ago. And today we're going to show you 1.
Wow.
1. And that's it. And you know what? We have people, remember, the public, all of them are a little worried too. You have a few that aren't worried at all, but most of them, particularly if they have children or older parents, they're a little worried too. And they appreciate you taking precautions. So fundamentally though, Leah, it's about you and what you feel is a prudent thing for you to do. And we will flat out not show anybody 15 or 20 houses. Not happening. And I wouldn't want to show them 20 houses.
So Gene, we've got about 48, 49, 50 leaders, I believe, on this Zoom call with you today. What's one parting comment as far as how to continue to lead our clients and lead our teams through this shift?
Well, number one, remember that in the worst recession since the Great Depression, which was not that long ago, actually, about a decade ago, people still bought and sold houses. Every single week, people were buying and selling houses. So don't think this is going to go away. But I assure you, because we're now dealing with a pandemic that is not going to go away in 4 weeks. People are much more concerned about their safety. You should be concerned about your safety. So it's adopting this digital platform that we're working today and having the right tools lined up where you can make powerful presentations to get people to list with you and then to buy the property or sell the property through the same platform. You need to be as focused on getting that thing going as you can possibly do. And the people who don't do that are going to literally lose market share going forward. Because if you're going to do that, you're going to end up on command at a high level. And if you do that, you'll end up creating videos, because you'll understand that is a huge driver right now today of capturing new business. It is videos. We are getting lots of business off videos right now.
Okay, great. Gene, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for pouring into our team and into our realtors here in Northeast Tennessee. Hopefully we can return the favor to you at some point in the future. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. I'm not sure it was a total pleasure for everybody, but it is what it is.
We appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.